fast, unpredictable, iconic, rain, Eau Rouge. Just a few of the words used to describe Spa-Francorchamps, but none of which are hyperbole. Welcome to one of the most legendary circuits in motorsport history, where round 5 of the ISR AIC Championship is about to begin. Situated deep in the Ardennes Forest of Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps is revered by drivers and fans alike. With a history spanning nearly a century, this track is as fast as it is unforgiving. From the thrills of Eau Rouge to the sweeping curves of Blanchimont, Spa is a circuit that demands respect. We have a fantastic Grand Prix lining up for you today, with our championship leader, of course, Jonathan Carrero, receiving a qualifying ban in the previous round, so has it all to do. Welcome along once again, Josh Martin, midway through the season, and things feel like they're just getting started.
Yes, good evening, Toby. Yeah, that's spot on. This is, of course, a circuit which is rewarding, but also one where you can afford to take penalties. We see that in real racing. So, as much as Kerr might not be happy with his position, it's certainly going to be a good race for him and for everyone to watch along at home.
This is, like we said, if you was to take a qualifying ban at any circuit on the calendar, you would probably want it to be this one. So this is Carrero's best opportunity to make the least of that damage today. He starts, of course, last alongside Kevin Jacobs, who also received the qualifying ban last time out. Danny Diaz will qualify in P20. Craig McDonald, following his penalty, will line up P19. Then it's Douglas Anderson, bad result for the ARTs this week, Toby Byrne in P17. Then it's Chris Petterson lining up alongside Joshua Wood. Another disappointing result for the American. Marcus Townend lines up in 14. Quite a forward grace from his recent results. Valeria Campagnari beside him. Philip Blum and Gareth Leonard take up the next row. That's a good result for Blum considering recent form. Callum Spencer battled for the win last time out, but this time he has it all to do from P10. He lines up against Razalov. Then it's McDonald, Tom McDonald this time, alongside James Underhill for P7. Josh Martin qualifies P6 alongside his compatriot of Colin McAllister lining up in P5. Olav Odfin qualifies P4, consistent once again. Great qualifying performance again for Craig Evans in P3. Andrew Bavia P2, and for his first ever AIC pole position, Ed Cantwell will line up on pole position for Team Disconnect. A great feat for him in his debut season of the ISR AIC. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. It's the Belgian Grand Prix. We're going to hear those 5 red lights. And they go out. Now, lights out and away we go. Who gets the better start of the front two then? And I think it's actually Andrew Pavia, who looks like he's going straight up into the lead. He's got to go around the outside, but he's done so. Brilliant start from the American, getting the job done on them super soft tyres. Nice and early, we have a car going the wrong way in the background, but needless to say, we're down onto the first run of Eau Rouge, and it looks like Ed Cantwell already under pressure now from the second man. And his rear view mirrors, it's Craig Evans, looking like he's going to go side by side with him as we go through Radion into the next chicane. Off we go, Josh. And we're just getting started.
Yeah, definitely. Craig Evans already looking to make a move now. He's come to the end of the Camel Straight here. It's going to be very close as they ride side by side into the apex. And Ed has not had the start that he would have wanted. Immediately beaten off the line into turn 1, and he's now down into P3. And Prevere is kind of pulling away a gap already, nearly a second over the cars behind. And Toby, I don't know about you, but it's looking very, very great already for the start of this race.
Fantastic start, and while we obviously know there's a grip advantage for those on the super soft compound of tyre, and they've used that perfectly, as we can see an incident involving cars 67, Philip Blum, that's who we saw in the wrong way, and Valeria Campagnari, so they came to blows in turn number 1, but otherwise quite an impressively clean start for these guys, one of the cleanest we've seen all season. So as we head through the second sector now, we can see, like you say, the super soft runners getting away, but this man on the hard compounded tyre, I believe he's the only man on the hard compounded tyre in the top 5, is keeping them honest as well. Watch out for this man, because Josh, we have seen so many times this season the hard compound tyre is by far the best race tyre when it comes to that first stint. So if Olav can stay in that DRS range, he has every opportunity today. But yes, like you say, our pole sitter Ed Cantwell really getting off to a bad start under a little bit of pressure from McAllister, as we can see cars all bunching up, and we can see he's moving to Blanchimont there, was that in the background. But Josh Martin looking like he's going to make a move of his own, trying to go all the way around the outside of James Underhill, and he gets the move done. Now it looks like Josh originally lost that position because he did start P6 down to P7 on that occasion, but he's made amends quite quickly, Josh, as we have contact in the background.
Yeah, definitely. It's all kicking off the background, it looks like. Pedersen, and he is collided with a few other people. Campagnari, I think, also been affected there. And Toby, this is obviously a circuit where the cars are kind of treated like two different types. So you've got that kind of first sector and last sector, which is technical, and the middle sector, which is all about pace. And you can see James Underhill now looking to get back under DRS. It could be a pretty clean move here, as we see there's an investigation undergoing. I'm going to assume that's for the chaos that's unfolded. And Campagnari there we've seen is also retired. So it's all kicking off. And Tom McDonald has now made a move up on the inside of Razalov, and Razalov Cannwella's going to try and keep the wheels there, but he can't just pull it off. And so, Toby, like you were saying, those hard tyres could have some benefits. If you can keep them going, it might be able to pull off a one-stop here. And of course, the talk of the season has to be some of these dramatic strategies in the pits.
We've seen some crazy strategies, and I believe in Dragon Trail was the first time potentially in the AIC's history we've seen a two-stop strategy being implied, but it was Jonathan Carrero, this man who came from out of nowhere really to claim that victory and along with it the championship lead. He's having a great start to this Grand Prix, up into P14 already, so he's got 4 more positions to do until he can get into the points. Now the best part for him is his championship rival Douglas Anderson has not had that fortune at the beginning of the race and is stuck in a lowly P17. So here we go then, lap 2, yellow flag still deployed as they get that debris cleaned up in the bus stop chicane. Hopefully that'll all be gone by the time we get there. Colin McAllister is the first man in DRS range, as we can see some moves in the background. Gareth Lennon up the inside of Razalov into Blanchimont. Now with our track view with Craig Evans earlier this week, he told us that he did not expect to see anyone making a move into that corner and how wrong he was. We've seen 2 moves, Josh, in 2 laps.
Yeah, exactly. The drivers are not hanging around. Obviously, quite a long race here at Spa, one of the longest ones on the circuit, but the drivers trying to make the maximum advantage. And let's not forget, those yellow flags are going to be having a benefit to those on the softer compound tyres. They don't have to push them as hard under full racing conditions. So again, this is going to bring that whole race strategy in. The drivers running with lower downforce can maybe get away with not scrubbing those tyres as much. And you can see here with Colin McAllister, he's just sitting comfortably, little beep as the DRS opens, and he is now going to be looking to make a move. He's coming past, he's looking very, very close, and they're going to be side by side once again. Can he make the mistake? Wait for the car to come round, and it's looking very close, side by side, and he can't quite pull it off. And oh, yes, he can. Maybe he can. Oh my goodness, this is all kicking off. It's incredible. And Toby, Colin, obviously a man on a mission, round 1 having a very successful start to the season, and no doubt he's going to be looking to replicate that result today.
He needs some change in his look, that's for sure, because funnily enough, you wouldn't believe it from his championship seasons. We'll get back to that in a moment as we see some replays. This is what happened at the start then, Josh. This is Philip Blum, who DNF'd quite early. So coming into turn 1, obviously, as you can imagine, on the first corner like this, everyone is going to get bunched up. And he just receives a tap in the background and pulls off to the side. Now I've got to assume that's enough it didn't look like big contact, did it? But maybe that's just enough contact there to break something on the rear of the car, which has forced it to pull over. Quite a squirrely start as we rode on board with Valeria Campagnari, who's the up car involved. He got a bad start, and as he's trying to make up positions, he just gives a little kiss to the back of the NAR, and around he goes, and it didn't feel like a lot of contact, but it was clearly enough to DNF the American. Now Valeria was caught up in an incident of his own towards the end of the Grand Prix, coming into the bus stop chicane. We see Lennon going wide, and then whoa, we're just tipped over, are we? No, we're not completely over, but we are sent quite spinning in the air. A scary experience nonetheless for the Italian, and we will see who's involved in that. We said the investigation, I think, was, yes, this man, Craig McDonald. So McDonald got an excellent run out of Blanchimont, didn't he? Coming into the bus stop chicane, he's looking to the back of Campagnari. What happens here? Did we just bunch up? He gets a little bit of contact himself, and it's a bit of bunching up, but was it a bit of poor spatial awareness, I wonder, Josh? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is at Spa, that first and last corners, as we've seen, it tightens up so quickly, and you can be on the top of the car ahead of you before you even know it, and in some cases quite literally it looks like. So definitely driver awareness there, not as great as possible, but you know, as we start to get towards that kind of critical part of the season, like we were saying, Spa's that circuit where you can afford to take a penalty, but then you do have to push on in the race if you want to try and recoup some points. So not surprising, I would say, but of course not ideal if you have been involved in those incidents, and I'm sure we're going to see some decisions from the stewards very, very soon on those.
Yeah, so we get our first decision through there, and no further action for the incident involving Blum and Campagnari. And we can see Colin McAllister is now on the offensive against Ed Cantwell as well. He's going to look to go all the way around the outside. What a move from the Scot! Absolutely clinical. That was surgical precision right around the outside, and Ed Cantwell's got such a bad exit. He's lost another position to Odford behind, and he's now under pressure from the second NLR of James Underhill. What a disastrous start this has been for our pole sitter. He's lost 5 positions in 4 laps, and he looks like he could be under pressure once again. He'll have DRS to hopefully subdue some of his misery. He won't come under pressure from Martin, thankfully, I don't think, thanks to that DRS. But horrendous start for Cantwell. Is this coming down to experience? Of course we talked, and I did say he wasn't going to be under pressure from Martin. That was a complete lie, because here comes Martin flying around the outside, and he has the DRS and the slipstream from the car ahead as well on the racing line. Is he going to be able to go all the way around the outside of Ed Cantwell and compound that misery further? Yes, he is. A desperate attempt from Canwell to stay ahead on the inside, but he cannot do it. What a disastrous start. 6 positions in 4 laps, and is that a bit of experience, Josh? Never starting from pole position in the AIC before.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure what it is, if it's a lack of experience, if he's nursing an issue that we're not aware of, but I tell you what, Toby, those Iron Brew cars are looking very, very quick today. McAllister's trim, I don't know if he's running low downforce or what, but that car is hooked up. And, if you're Evans at this point, you have to be looking in your mirrors, because Colin is really making segues. And we say a bit of radio there from Prevere, and it looks like there is a weather event on the way. That's that true Spa weather that we love to see around here. And, it can be one of those tracks where one sector's wet, one sector's dry, and you just have to try and find a balance. And just on the topic of experience, Toby, obviously this is something that's a bit dramatic for the drivers. Some of them may not have faced this before. Do we think we're going to see some wild strategies of people trying to hang it out, try and drive on wet weather with dry tyres, or what are we expecting?
It's very tricky, isn't it? We don't know when the crossover point is. I can actually see spots of rain on this man's TV cam, as you can just see there, as he's going around the outside of Olav Oddven. So clearly the dry tyre is up to the task at the moment. Oddven goes very wide. Martin gets a thump up from behind. Then Cantwell desperately trying to regain that position and causes a bit of a bunch-up effect, but that's going to give Cantwell an opportunity to try go around the outside. And Oddven confirming what I think I just saw there, Josh. Oddven saying there's spots of rain on the visor already. So it looks like it's starting to, what we Brits would call spitting for the rest of the world. That is a very light drizzle. As we can see, Edouard Cantwell, is he going to try and make a move back up the inside of Eau Rouge? He's going to try hang it there. He's very close, but not quite side by side. Desperate to try stop this tumble dryer effect of going backwards, I think. He's just looking for anything, but he's actually got him more compromised as Callum Spencer is now going to go all the way around the outside. What a disaster for Cantwell. This might be one of the worst starts I think he's certainly ever had, but one we've seen at least this season, as Spencer clean around the outside. He'll take that all day till Sunday. But yes, a little bit of rain. It'll be all about judging when that crossover point is, as Byrne gets the radio to say rain's looking complicated. They expect showers. So like you say, it could be wet in one sector, it could be very full on, then very dry. We don't know what's going to happen. It's that beautiful Spa weather, Josh.
Definitely. I mean, to hear the message that the weather's complicated, that would make me nervous. So I'm sure Byrne's going to be asking for a bit more clarity on that. But I guess what could be beneficial for someone like Cantwell is if he is running that higher downforce. As that rain comes in and the track starts to get wetter, you obviously want more downforce on your car. So we could almost see kind of an inverse of pace as the track gets wetter. Of course, if it then does start to dry up again, it swings the other way. But it's one of these tracks that I love for racing because there are just so many variables, and you can see Byrne is boxing, it is raining hard, and the rain is properly coming down. Is anyone going to hang it out now, Toby? Because you could lose a lot of time if you get the strategy wrong.
Sounds like a lot of radio traffic. Let's see what Pavia does. He's the first man into the pit lane then. He thinks it's time. So does Craig Evans. McAllister too. And there comes Underhill. I think we might have the whole grid here. It all looks quite uniform, doesn't it? Martin's engineer said it sounds quite chaotic. It sounds like there was a lot of radio traffic of almost everyone saying they were going to come in. And this brings a new precedent into the AIC, Josh, because there's going to be so much activity in the pit lane that we could see drivers, having to avoid unsafe releases. Let's not forget how much this could jumble things up as well. This is a battle of the pit teams like we've never seen before.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. I'm sure Ted will give us an update later as we see the tyres going on to the drivers' cars for this wet weather. And of course, you've got to be careful because you don't have to worry about double stacking in this, but of course, you can't release until the cars around you are released. So we could see some real chaos here depending on where your position in the pit lane is.
So let's see who comes out in P1. Here you go then. Pavia had that gap. He gets out nice and comfortable. Brilliant from the American. We can see Kevin Jacobs. He started in P21, Josh. The ARTs were super far down as well, weren't they? And there they are in P3 and P4. And Carrero, championship leader. That's crucial for the championship. Is out into P5. McDonald follows. Lennon pretty much where he was. We can see Wood. He was quite low down. Petterson too. Byrne comes out P10. Ed Cantwell nowhere to be seen. Craig Evans nowhere to be seen. What a crazy shuffle we've just had in the pit lane. DRS is still open, so the track hasn't been declared wet just yet. That will get disabled. And Anderson saying the rain stopped. They've just swapped onto the wets, Josh, and the rain has stopped.
Oh my goodness, it's all kicking off. This is the Spa that we know and love. I mean, those ART guys have done such a good job, but they now have to work together to get back to that pit lane, get those tyres off, and potentially go onto the dries if it dries up enough. Obviously, we had a bit of a shower, but it was quite compressed, so I don't know the impact that's going to have on the track. But I just can't believe the turnaround that the ART guys have had there. They have basically gone from zero to hero, and it's now, I'd argue, very much their race to lose as a team.
Absolutely, the points on offer for ART here is huge, and let's not forget Danny Diaz, Season 3 winner at this circuit. He knows how to get this job done, and he'll want to dispatch, but will he? That's another thing I've just thought of. He will want to dispatch his teammate quite soon, but his teammate is in the championship battle, currently ahead of the championship leader, so that will be something very interesting to consider among the ARTs. And like you say, what are these guys going to do? Can they hang it out? Obviously, we know these tyres can go there, and Pavia thinks, let's get back on slicks. He wants to get in and get back on there while he still has this 6.3 second lead. That's quite bold. He wants to be proactive instead of reactive. Let's see what everyone else does, and it looks quite a familiar setting, doesn't it? Back into the pit lane we go once more. Let's see what happens as we have some replays. This is coming out of the pit lane, and whoa, Carlos Spencer has turned someone in the pit lane, Josh.
Oh my goodness, yeah, look at that. Just drivers trying to deal with this wet weather, and it's wow, I can't believe that. That was just absolute chaos. So we see Craig Evans now, and just like we were saying, it's so easy to get held in the pit lane here. As he comes out, it's going to be happening here, what we're looking for. Comes round, out the pit lane, and oh, yeah, he's got a sim staff car right into him. So a bit unlucky there, and oh my goodness. I think the steward's going to be having a look at that one, Toby.
That was disastrous. Clearly some damage on the NLR car. And was that rain I just saw in that camera shot there? Is it raining again? I don't know. My eyes might be deceiving me. We've got a lot of cars in the pit lane. Pavia's back out, and we can see Ken Canwell actually pitted for dry tyres. But I think it's raining again. He actually stayed out on the dry tyres from the first stop. And I think he's having to come in. But is he just pitting for normal tyres, or are these guys coming back in for the wets? We need to see what our leaders have come back out on. What can we see here? Is that the wet compounded tyre, or is that hard? I can't quite tell. Riding on board with Andrew. It is wet tyres. Ted in the pit lane, what's going on?
They aborted the stop, guys. They all came in for slicks and it started raining again. The mechanics waved them on and they just drove through. This is crazy.
So everybody who came into the pit lane, Josh, was waved on as the heavens opened again. So they've effectively all just done a drive-through penalty.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is the thing. If you're working the strategy on a race like this, it's so difficult to predict. And, you know, like we said, although you have your own pit box, you don't have to worry about double stacking. You do have to worry about contact, as we saw with Evans, or just getting stuck, not being able to get released early enough. So a very tricky one. And we can see from Anderson, the team letting them know that the rain will increase. And, I mean, we're only 7 laps in, Toby, but it feels like we've had a lifetime of a race here. I can't count how many times it's changed between dry and wet.
Yeah, here we go then. The rain is coming down. This question we talked about with Diaz earlier, he has been told, just remember, that is Dougie in front of you. Obviously the golden rule, as we would say in motor racing as teammates, or if you're a McLaren fan, you might recognise this as Papaya rules. This is do not crash into your teammate. We talked about earlier, ART on for a huge point haul. They're in the battle for the team's championship, as you can imagine, but Dougie will be thinking about Carrero, who's only 2 positions behind as well. But Danny, it has to be said, Anderson's telling him, think of the championship. Is that an attempt at Anderson saying, look, just remain in formation, but the team telling him he's been told to exercise caution? So does that mean we're free to race then at ART? You have to say in his early phases that Diaz looks faster. One man who's not having to worry about tyre wear or teammates as much is Josh Wood, who has a completely different opponent ahead of him, as we see a penalty coming through. He's following Chris Petterson into the bus stop chicane. Who's this penalty for? Wow, Josh Wood goes for a very late move into the bus stop chicane, sets Petterson up for a run on the exit. He's going to be side by side. Spencer has got a penalty, we said, for that incident in the pit lane. We was expecting that. Wood to the inside of Chris Petterson into turn number 1. Is he going to get the job done nice and easy? He is. Oh, but his contact, he's spun around on the exit. And Wood, yeah, understandably furious, and he's in the gravel trap, Josh.
Oh my god, I mean, these cars are so fragile. A move like that is going to cause quite a bit of damage, and I'm not surprised to see him there. As Pedersen's arguing, he came across. It's going to be a battle as all this time, these two arguing about who took the blame. So you ride on sport with Spen now. He seems to be in the slipstream. Obviously, in the wet weather like this, you've got to give yourself a bit more room. Make sure that you're not going to outbrake yourself and crash into anybody. But like I was kind of saying earlier, Toby, when we look at this weather change, the pace that McAllister had and the Iron Brew guys had early on seems to have kind of dropped off. McAllister down in P15, not having a good time, and Danny Diaz is going for it. He has made his position clear. He's going to have a look up the inside of his teammate. A little bit of sliding there from Anderson, and Toby, I know we saw those team orders, but I think Diaz has got a championship he wants to win.
Diaz could be very involved. Of course, he had a very good outing last time out, finishing P2, put himself into the championship. It has to be said, doesn't it? Diaz looks a lot quicker than Anderson in this phase of the Grand Prix. He looks a lot more comfortable in this wet weather, and I know there is a championship battle to think of in both the constructors and the drivers, but at what point, Josh, do you as a team owner, obviously experienced as yourself and the driver, at what point do you go, okay, Diaz is clearly faster here, we have to take the loss and swap them around, because there's a risk here of them crashing and them getting no points.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you listen to the onboards and, Doug is really feathering that throttle, and Diaz is kind of having to lift off. And I think we're going to see that move come through now. Diaz obviously having a look on the inside to his teammate. Hopefully give each other a bit more room because it is wet. Okay, maybe not a little bit of a squeeze, but a very good move there from Diaz. And obviously that gap to P1 is now over 12 seconds. It's massively opened up. So as much as they've been trying to bounce team orders, they've obviously lost a lot of time. And Anderson having to look up the inside again. Okay, looks like the gloves are off, Toby. People are not hanging around. These guys are going wheel to wheel at every opportunity.
Spa never fails us in the ISR AIC, does it? We had fantastic battles throughout Season 5 where the man who just made the move for P2 won that race. And the race before that race, if you remember, he was told that he did not have a seat to come back to. That man thrives under pressure. So here's Chris Petterson. I'm assuming this is going to be the incident. And big lockup. So that's why Josh made a late move. We said he looked like he made a late move, didn't he? It's assuming because Chris has made a mistake. So Josh has gone on the inside, which turns to the outside. Now it's a drag race all the way to La Source. And who's going to make the contact here? Chris said he came across me. What really happened? And I don't think he came across Josh. I do think Josh was a bit slow on the exit, but to me, I don't think he came across. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think Josh was firm but fair there. You can see he has a look up the inside after that lockup. A little bit of contact, side-to-side wheel banging, as we've been seeing throughout the race. And again, a little bit of damage there. But as he comes up to turn 1, it's obviously a corner that if you compromise yourself, it has a knock-on effect for a good amount of time. But I'd say it's a pretty clean move. He does have a little bit of a lockup, to be fair, but hits his apex and just gets knocked in the rear. Yeah, I can't put the blame on Wood for that one.
And there he goes, trundling over into the gravel, and I'm assuming he gets stuck because he did later retire from that incident, so we'll see what the stewards say. The racing in the rain continues, and Danny Diaz looks like he's beginning to pull that gap to Anderson, so Diaz clearly making the correct decision there to get ahead of his teammate and get out of dodge and secure that pace. Callum Spencer all over the back of one of the McDonald brothers for Macca Motorsport. Can't quite see in this rain. This is a really good example of how little these drivers can see in the rain, Josh, because just riding on onboard, I can't even, if I didn't have a timing board to my left, I would have no idea who that driver is in front of me. Gets a little bit clearer as we get closer. You can see the Macca Motorsport, on the rear wing. But I don't know who this is, but it is a McDonald. We can say that with certainty. So he is looking to follow him through the bus stop chicane. It gives him a little tap up the rear, almost spins him, and uses that to go through. Wow, that is very... I'm going to use the word cheeky and remain neutral, but a bit of BTCC driving, especially in this weather, from the Welshman.
Definitely, I'll go out on a limb. I think that was a bit too harsh, that one. I'm sure we'll see the stewards either looking for them to revert positions or a penalty to be given there, because, yeah, I think Tom there was just a bit of a passenger at that point. And obviously, as the circuit continues to get wet, as is often around the case with Spa, rivers start to form as well. This is a circuit which has lots of undulations and hills and all sorts. So the drivers now kind of will be tiptoeing further and further round, which is easy enough, as you see them getting very sideways there. It's easy enough to do if you're driving by yourself, if you're out front with a 10-second gap. But if you're someone like Tom who's trying to make an overtake, or someone like Spen who's on the defensive, you can't afford to tiptoe around here. It's just not something that is an option.
It is absolutely pouring it down out on this circuit. As we can see, Anderson has actually closed back in on his teammate of Diaz, and it really doesn't know. I don't know where the pace is between these. Like we say, if the gloves are off, then these guys are just full on battling. But if you're trying to manage this as a team manager, of which Douglas Anderson is the team manager, so I think he's in a two hearts at the moment. This must be extremely stressful. Let alone he's in the championship battle. He's battling his teammate, the team of which he earns. A lot of things going on in the helmet of Douglas Anderson. As you can see, Jonathan Carrero behind Marcus Townend and hits him up the rear for P4, and I'm sure that will be another one investigated. That was a bit more than his teammate just did. He fully got Townend up on two wheels there, and yes, Townend is disgruntled, Josh, and arguably correctly so.
Yeah, definitely. I think we might see a bit of retribution as we come into turn 1. The driver's obviously struggling so much with this wet weather. And I was going to say that the ART boys have to worry about their championship contenders catching up on him. But I think after that, he might have just got a bit of luck. Carrero saying he's locked up, which is fair. But of course, that doesn't give him an excuse to go straight into the car behind him. So, yeah, Marcus probably not happy. He is going to have a bit of a run in here as they come up the hill onto the straight. But yeah, you can just hear, Toby, how much they're feathering that throttle. They are properly sliding out there.
It is so wet, and the drivers, I mean, look at this spray, Josh, coming off the rear wheels. You can't even see the car behind. The only reason we can see a fraction of it is because it's luminous bloody yellow. Otherwise, it is absolutely chucking it down out there. Our first wet weather race in the ISR AIC, and the conditions are that befitting the Spa circuit, aren't they? This is what we're used to seeing at Spa, but it's the first time our drivers have had to compete with this, and Townend still following Carrero, and like you say, I'm surprised the stewards have not got involved yet, as he goes a little bit deep, almost does the same thing that Carrero did to him, but manages to keep the car under control as we head into No Name. And there's a lot of spray, a lot of water, but Townend is stuck to the back of Carrero like glue. Now that's not a glue, that's water soluble, obviously, as we can see the two ARTs coming into Puon, and just listen to them engine nose, Josh. They are so slow in this wet weather.
Yeah, definitely. As we see, there's an investigation going on, and Townend is having a look around the inside, and an incident involving Carrero and Townend causing collision is under investigation, of course. But Townend is doing well here. It's looking very, very clean. And I'm trying to work out, Toby, I think the teams championships can have a bit of a shake-up here. I know the Northern Lights Racing guys have had some good results previously, but they're obviously struggling with this, with Craig being out and Underhill in P13. ART guys obviously having a very good result at the moment, provided they don't wipe each other out before the end. But we could see some real shake-ups here in the championship, both for the drivers and the teams.
Fantastic day out for ART, like you say, assuming they don't take each other out at any point in this Grand Prix. Something we've seen the likes happen at Spa, of course, with the likes of Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon in the past with Racing Point. No further action coming through. Is this for Carrera? It is, because the position was redressed. Okay, so that makes a little bit more sense. Carrera letting Townend through back into Puon to redress that position. And we can see Anderson looking to the outside, or is he just looking to the outside to try get out of that spray and actually see where he is in relation to his teammate until something like that happens? Diaz is spent, but he manages to hold on to it. Wow, is he going to retain the position? No, Douglas Anderson's going to go through. Gloves really off in this instance.
Oh my goodness, I mean, we saw the move earlier in the race, which was under racing conditions, and Diaz, yes, I think he maybe has forgotten that their teammates. As we see, Townsend has had a bit of a spin there. Anderson going to give him back the position, which is fair, but oh man, I would not like to be in the briefing room after this race. That was not great at all for these guys, and especially when they're in such a good position like this. You know, like I said earlier on, it's their race to lose as a team's championship. You can't be making silly moves like that, because you're also giving a bit of a chance to the guys behind you to catch up as well. It's just such a silly, reckless move, Toby.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happened to Townend. He is down in P6, so he's lost a position to McDonald as well. And Gareth Lennon retires from the Grand Prix. It'll be interesting to see what's happened there as well. But wow, I mean, obviously it's absolutely pouring it down. As we can see, Craig McDonald has now come out of nowhere, and he's all over the back of Jonathan Carrero. So McDonald looking very quick in this wet weather as well. And that's another team involved in the team's championship, speaking of the devil, as his brother fighting for his life for P10 under a constant assault from Callum Spencer. So he has got back past Callum Spencer at some point. Obviously we saw Spencer, very BTT-esque, got past him around the outside following a little nudge, but he is now back in front, and as you can see, understandably a lot more sensible this time around into the bus stop chicane. And there's been so much action, Josh, that it is the final lap already, and somewhere along the line McDonald's got past Carrera.
Yeah, definitely. I was just looking. Our race leader has had a pretty chilled out race. He built out quite the gap at the pit stops the first time round, that is, and kind of run away from there. The ART guys obviously been battling all the way through, and yeah, it's just crazy to see how much a little bit of rain can throw mix into the strategy. See, Carrera's got through, and like you said, he's having a pretty good race. Diaz is also back through, I believe, Toby. He's got past his teammate once again. Is that correct?
It is correct, yeah. If you remember, I think Anderson let him back through following him almost ending the race for both of them. Amazing stuff. So look, as we come towards the final few corners, like I say, our race leader has been in a league of his own, I think it's been fair to say. And I think, for me, he's got to be the driver of the day. He's got to be our race winner, or race leader, I should say. He's not quite finished. Our race leader, Andrew Pavira, because he has just driven in a class of his own. He's been untouchable, Toby, and as the DRS is now enabled, he doesn't even have to worry about being in range of that. It has been truly a champion's drive for Andrew Pavia. The man from Connecticut has absolutely handled this race flawlessly. Started P2, took the lead of the race into turn 1 and never looked back. And he takes the Water is Fake fastest lap award to boot as well. It is Andrew Pavia who wins in a dominant fashion in Belgium. The first victory for him in the ISR AIC. JR Woodone having a great turn of fortune here today. Diaz will come home in P2. Anderson P3, McDonald, manages to squeeze past Carrero on the final lap. I'd be interested to see how he did that at some point, but the championship leader comes across the line in P5. It's a good recovery from a qualifying ban, but he ultimately, Josh, does lose points in that Drivers' Championship. We can see there's still some battles though going on the circuit. Spencer is really trying to find those last minute 1 point on an offer here from the other McDonald brother, and he'll be in with half a chance going into the bus stop chicane, but he needs to get a good run, and this is really his last opportunity to do it, Josh.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about this corner here. Get a nice clean exit, get into that slipstream, and you can make a move happen. Spen's obviously a very experienced driver, been in the AIC for a long time, and I think now we may see that experience come through as they run side by side, just over 3 attempts now, and looking very, very clean. Now, we know Spence had a few issues coming into the final chicane. Can he pull it off this time and not cause contact? We will wait to see. And I'm just looking for the rest of the field, Toby. It seems like this is the last position that's going to potentially change.
It is so much spray that I think that is obviously hindering, and I think Spen he knows he's already taken 1 penalty with him to the next round, and it looks like he's going to settle for P11 on this occasion. But this is another thing, the spray is so intense that some drivers genuinely just can't judge those distances ahead of them, and there is one more position available for up for offer, and unbelievably it's the man who started on pole position and the man who started P4, and they're battling for nothing more than P15 by the end of the race, coming into the bus stop chicane. A disastrous day out for Ed Cantwell, a disastrous day out for Olav Odford, but they will safely make it across the line and be the last of our 16 finishers here today. What a Belgian Grand Prix this has been, and the rain, we've been waiting for it to come, and here's some replays of what happened then. So we saw Townend, and there's a penalty being issued here, so clearly something has gone awry, Josh, and we can see, look at the steering wheel as he just tries to control that car coming into here now. Yeah, he completely takes that Townend, and that's not the first time he's done it either, Josh. He's done that on previous occasion, and this time it was fatal.
Yeah, I was going to say he was maybe looking in his mirrors a bit too much there. He obviously had someone looking to make a move up the inside, and it's just like we've seen right the way through, just very sloppy braking there, and Townsend, literally nothing he could do there. He was just a passenger at that point. Really disappointing for him. I'm sure he's not going to be happy. But like you say, with the amount of spray that's on offer, it doesn't really come as a surprise. And I think we're going to see this here with Crystal Preston into the back of one of the Iron Brew cars as well. Again, that corner just seems to be catching everybody out. And like we said, it could be as simple as because they had that dry setup prepared, and then as it turns to rain, they just can't deal with the changing weather conditions. There's so much water on the track. It was, just again, a really, really simple move that didn't need to happen.
Yeah, exactly like you said, and you did mention earlier that lakes form around this circuit when it does get too wet, so there could be quite significant puddles around there. Is this the move then we saw on the final lap? We saw McDonald squeeze past at some point, and we could just see, look how much more confidence he has, Josh, on Carrero at this stage, and is he going to make a move down here? He is, straight up the inside, textbook.
That was a beautiful move, like you say, textbook move there, no lockup, got it done cleanly before the apex, and Carrero just really had to be kind of sitting back and watching that happen in front of him, so very, very nice indeed.
And that is the Belgian Grand Prix round number 5 of the ISR AIC completed. Andrew Pavia takes almost a Grand Slam, takes the fastest lap and the overall race victory. Danny Diaz and Douglas Anderson come home on a double podium, securing a fantastic day out for the ART Toyota team. Craig McDonald, a great result, P19 to P4, and then Jonathan Carrero, obviously last to 5th, a great recovery drive for the championship. Marcus Townend lands in P6 following that contact with Carrero. Pedersen P7, Byrne P8, our former champion Kevin Jacobs in P9, and then Tom McDonald takes the final the final point on offer this afternoon ahead of Callum Spencer, who comes home in P11. Now, like you say, in terms of big winners for the championship, it's got to be ART Toyota, and I mean JR11 will be very happy with this result. It's a full 26 points, the most points on offer this weekend. They take that. James Unhill will line up in P12, followed by Josh Martin P13. Colin McAllister looking like he was on for another good race, but lady bad luck, it's really not on good terms with the Scotsman at the moment. He comes on P14. Olav Odford and Ed Cantwell have disastrous days respectively, comes 15th and 16th, and they are the last of our finishers today as Razalov, Lennon, Wood, Evans, Blum and Campagnari all DNF, and Spa is a circuit that demands respect, but Spa with some rain, Josh, really just throws things up in the air.
Yeah, all you have to do is look at the number of incidents today and a lot of penalties that are applied. And you can see the standings there for the teams, for the drivers overall, I should say. Jonathan Carrero has still got that lead at 66 points, got a healthy gap. Anderson and Diaz now obviously very, very close. We saw them close in the race, but now also on the standings. Pavir and McDonald also now tied on points, and we've got 3 people there down towards the end, and Catwell, Colin McAllister and Josh Martin also tied on points, Toby.
It is an incredibly close Drivers' Championship. I mean, even Jonathan Carrero is less than 20 points ahead of Douglas Anderson now following today's results. James Underhill, 21 points tied on with Tom McDonnell. Of course, they're only 4 points, below those in front of them as well. Kevin Jacobs, Season 4 champion on 17. Bit of a disastrous defence campaign so far. Chris Pedersen, 16 points, and then it's Razalov, Burns, Spencer, Campagnari, Wood and Evans. Now, Evans has just had no luck this season, as has Gareth Lennon and Philip Blum, to be fair. So those guys will be due some luck, but I think if anywhere you're going to get luck, I don't think it's ever going to be at Spa. If you're going to get any luck, it's going to be bad luck. So I'm sure their time will come as we look into the team standings. ART Toyota with a fantastic day out do healthily take the championship lead. Winfield JSR in P2, and then Maka Motorsport having a decent day following up in P3. Osbus Racing now make gains in the championship, as do JR Wood 1. Only a point separating those teams, and it's only 2 points with the team disconnect. So there is a fantastic battle for the Drivers' Championship and down that field, and there's a fantastic battle for the Drivers' Championship from top to bottom, Josh. This season's shaping out to be absolutely brilliant, and there's still another 5 to go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just shows a race like today, if you're ART, you can gain a lot of points. Iron Brew were looking very, very quick, just couldn't get it together. But as we reach kind of the halfway point of the season, it is now full focus. Team orders do have to start coming in, and it's going to be interesting to see who can kind of make those last-minute gains on the point standings as we go towards the second half of the season.
Be very interesting to see how ART plan to discuss team orders with 2 drivers that are separated by a point in the championship battle. It'll be very interesting to see heading into round number 6. Next time out we go to Italy for Mugello Circuit for what promises to be another fantastic race. But once again, thank you so much, Josh Martin, for joining me in the comms box, and until next time everybody, thank you for watching and goodbye.